This is the only time during the church year when the missal, the book that the priest reads from, says, after the gospel, a brief homily may be given if appropriate. Not just because your feet are tired from standing up and listening to the whole gospel, but I think mostly because the story speaks for itself. The story speaks for itself. We are placed within the scene. We are placed within the story at the beginning of this Holy Week. We kind of set the table and set the scene for the whole rest of the week. And the church desires for us to literally enter into the story. It's the only time. It's the only time that you join the gospel and take the part of the crowd and take the part of the story. And so you join in these phrases which are terrible to say. Many have told me before how hard it is to say, crucify him in this story. But we know that we are part of the story. And this is a living story, my friends. It's the one thing I want to emphasize this week, is this is a living story. It's not a dead letter. It's not a dead story. It's not just a historical account of a man who was famous and was killed in a famous way. It's a living story because it doesn't end in the death as we know, as we ended with. It ends in the resurrection. And so if Jesus is alive, then we too are alive and part of the story. We're living in the story. So we know the depths of sin that we're capable of. We know that we're capable of betrayal, like the people in this story. We know that we're capable of saying, crucify him in our own little ways throughout the year. But we also know the depths of his love for us, the depths of his passion. We call this Passion Sunday, and we wear red as a sign of his passionate love for us. Passion means suffering. And so compassion means to suffer with. And so it's our job this week to have compassion for his passion, to suffer with him along this way of the cross, along this story. And so my brief encouragement this morning is this: find yourself in the story. Find yourself in this story. The church calls you to find yourself with Jesus in this story somewhere today. Perhaps you relate to Simon of Cyrene, a person who is forced to carry a cross that they don't want to carry, is forced to help carry the crosses of others. Perhaps you find yourself in St. Peter, who denies the Lord 3 times, even though he's fully in love with the Lord and is convinced that he cannot fall. He does fall and finds himself distraught. Maybe we've betrayed him 1, 2, 3, or more times in this past year. Maybe you're Pilate, questioning, what is the truth? Who is this man? Maybe you're questioning and doubting your faith. Maybe you're the centurion standing at the foot of the cross, looking up and saying, truly, this is the Son of God. Maybe you're Mary Magdalene and Mary and John at the foot of the cross, watching other people in your life suffer, which sometimes is more difficult than suffering ourselves. Regardless, there are so many details in the story, there are so many characters and people in the story that you can find a part of your own life in this story. That's one of the reasons why I know this story is true, because it's not just vague. It's not just vague platitudes about what may have happened. It's detailed. It says that Simon was the father of Alexander and Rufus, and that he's from Cyrene, and all these little details. And the 4 Gospels weave together this beautiful story. Just one last thing. There are 2 specific things about this Gospel of Mark that we heard that are unique. 2 specific characters that are unique to Mark's Gospel account. One, the story of the woman breaking open the alabaster jar of ointment and perfumed oil to spread all over Jesus. They say that she's wasteful, but it's okay to be wasteful with your love for God. It's okay to be wasteful for love of Jesus. She pours everything she has out to love the Lord. And 2, there's a story of the strange young man who, after Jesus is betrayed, runs off naked. This story is often mentioned that it could be actually the gospel writer Mark who places himself into the story as the young man who runs away. Who knows? It doesn't really matter. That person clearly represents someone who's running away from the story, running away from being a part of Jesus' passion, somebody who's scared and afraid. So these are two responses we could have in the face of the story: to run away sad or to pour out our love for Jesus. Regardless of where you find yourself today, where you find yourself after this year, let us enter into the story. Do you remember how much we missed this story last year? I remember having a crowd of like 3 people here for Palm Sunday last year. And so I'm so glad that you're here to be part of the story. Let's not miss it. Let's not miss out on it another year. Let's enter into the story, for the Master has need of each one of us.